Welcome to Small Business Saturday.
Welcome to Small Business Saturday's video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Aaron Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome in. It is a beautiful Saturday morning here in St. Peters, Missouri, and I am sitting next to my lovely, beautiful wife, Kylene Montgomery. My name's Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at aaronmontgomery.info. You can find Kylene at weheart.biz. Good morning, sweetie. How are you?
Doing good. A little tired today, but doing good. It's going to be a nice day.
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
Definitely. We're going to head off to our usual Saturday fun, a volleyball weekend. So I appreciate you allowing us to do that.
Started last night with a volleyball game.
And then we're going to go play this morning, and then another volleyball game tonight, right?
Maybe.
No. We'll see if Kylene goes with us. But so anyhow, welcome in this morning. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about how to avoid that feeling of being overwhelmed. And as per usual, how I've really wanted to start out Small Business Saturdays when I started this 2.5-3 years ago, whatever that was. A lot of it was to have that opportunity to get ready to do things to help myself overcome some of these things, or have an opportunity to talk about it with you guys. So appreciate any comments and feedback and stuff like that you guys have this morning. Cindy checking in here with us this morning. Sorry to hear that you're getting ready for a funeral, Cindy. Our thoughts and prayers are with you guys, and thanks for joining us as long as you can here this morning. So appreciate that. But anyhow, that was, as far as Small Business Saturdays go, this overwhelmed feeling, it can happen. It can happen to a lot of people. I know people that you look at and you go, man, they've really got it together. And when you get them in a private setting, maybe you're drinking and they go, yeah, a little overwhelmed at times. So it's certainly not uncommon, but so that's what we're going to talk about this morning, right? Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Well, before we do that, though, I wanted to real quickly just give you guys up. Good morning, Cheryl and Sandy. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Cheryl, good morning. Thank you for tuning in with us this morning. Real quick, though, before, Wade, thank you. Appreciate you guys joining us. And there we go. So Cindy says, ironing a memorial cloth. I am overwhelmed. Todd, good morning.
Big day.
Big day, sir. Hopefully having some time in Mexico has eliminated your feeling of overwhelmed. I'm going to give away the first part of it. Go to Mexico with Todd. That is the best way to feel not overwhelmed. And it's definitely. Marianne, thank you for joining us. Good morning. And Cheryl, we had a blast hanging out with you too. We had a wonderful dinner and just all of the opportunity to get to hang out and chat and catch up. So thank you for that. All right. So back to where I was. As we know, I am a chaser of squirrels. So thank you guys for joining us this morning. But where was I?
You're going to pull up.
Oh, yes. Okay. So thank you. So anyhow, real quick before we dive into this, though, I just want to just make sure everybody's familiar with what got right up here, and make sure that you guys have checked out our success group, oursuccessgroup.com. This Wednesday, I will be talking about, and I'm not sure, Todd, if you're going to be coming in hot or not, but for sure I will be. I'm really excited. I've got the whole thing just about laid out and just putting some finishing tweaks on it. And we're going to be talking about converting potential customers into customers with email and how do you do that in MailChimp. In fact, we're going to go in step by step. We're going to actually spend a lot of time in MailChimp. We're going to make an email campaign. We're going to upload lists that we may have downloaded as a CSV file, all sorts of fun stuff. So that is going to be happening this Wednesday night, March 4th. And I'm really excited about that. And as I was putting it all together and stuff like that, it feels like it's going to flow. So I'm pretty proud of this one, sweetie. So,
all right, that's good.
Yep. And Cheryl says, don't forget to join the Sublimation for Beginners and Beyond group. We need to chat.
Yes, we do.
And Cindy says, Todd has posted some beautiful photos. Makes us all smile. Yes, indeed. Looks like a lot of fun. And I know it's been a little cloudy there, Todd, but I know you will make the very best of it. So, all right. So that's my quick pitch for our success group. And I don't know. So anything to add there?
No, I mean, it's awesome info. I'm learning from it. So
there you go. There you go. Our success group member, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kylene, let's dive into this here because we've got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm pretty proud of what we've done with this. You've really stepped up on this one and helped me out a ton to make this one great. So let's talk about it. Okay, Todd says it will be cutting it close, but I'll be there for sure. Cool. Similar to me with the Facebook ads, Todd. There we go. Partnership, buddy. All right. Well, let's dive into this, Kylene. So the first part we want to do is we kind of want to define what overwhelmed is and kind of talk about why it's important to avoid it. So why don't you start us off with what the definition of overwhelmed is? Yeah,
just so we're all on the same page. So Merriam-Webster dictionary describes being overwhelmed, or the word overwhelmed, by overcome by force or numbers, or completely overcome or overpowered by thought or feeling. The psychologist Marla Deibler described overwhelm as a feeling of overcome of mind or emotion. So when we think of stressors too great for us to manage, we feel overwhelmed, she said. And then feeling overwhelmed has many faces, as we all know. It might manifest as an intense emotion, anxiety, anger, or irritability. Maladaptive thought processes such as worry, doubt, or helplessness, and behaviors such as crying, lashing out, experiencing a panic attack.
I only cry a little bit, just a little bit of crying. So I actually just posted a link in there of a blog that we kind of liked that helped us kind of define it a little bit and gave some cool strategies, and we're going to talk about those. But so talk about some times maybe where you've been overwhelmed a little bit, and kind of, and then I'll share my story too.
Well, I mean, this last year, starting WeHeart.biz, has been a roller coaster of emotions. The beginning was all exciting and kind of, like the honeymoon period. Everything's fun. And then the reality hit where I realized how much I didn't know and how many things I had to learn and ask questions to Aaron again and again and again, the same questions until I really truly got it. And I think I'm almost there with some of these things, but I know it doesn't work that way. I know you don't just walk into something and you just get it and you master it. I know that's not how business works, but in my mind, I thought that I could just get it the first time and then keep moving forward. But what happened was I was focusing on that and then working from home. Then I have all the responsibilities of managing the household, having our son, having a marriage. All those things just kind of felt like it was on me. And it was very overwhelming, and definitely a roller coaster of those emotions that we talked about earlier. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
I mean, it totally is. And one thing that, depending on where you're coming at this from, I think your kind of first exposure to, well, not first exposure, but your exposure to business, this is something that for me has been ingrained in me since I was a kid, really. If we're doing the drinking game, I'll talk about my dad, who was a CPA, and I was, inside of his business since I was a kid. So, I've had, who knows how old I am, but let's just say I've had, 35 years of business experience. And then, and you come into it kind of seeing me you're kind of, I think you're, I wouldn't say first, but your kind of initial exposure to business may have been some multi-level marketing, network marketing type stuff. And a lot of times at the front of those things, the folks involved maybe don't give you the clearest of pictures. It's, you can do it from your pajamas on your phone in your bed.
Yeah, it's more of a lifestyle presentation instead of hard work.
And not that business is this like grind and terrible, and it can be a lot of fun and be very rewarding. It especially when you're starting out, it takes work. It just really does take work, and that work and all of those little things you have to check boxes on can feel overwhelming. And even now for me, I'm feeling it right now. I again, this topic came up because at the time I was feeling it, and just again, all of those things that you mentioned, we managed. I've just got back from a 10-day trip where I was in 3 different cities. Got another trade show coming up, so this is kind of the trade show season for me because of my involvement with DAX and the fact that we've got booths there. So getting all that planned, and you got to have the blow up couch there. You got to have you got to have all these things. I've got 3, possibly 4 decorators community projects that I'm trying to get off the ground. All kind of happening at once and coming up at once, and all the build up to that. My desire to make our success group the best that it can be, and wanting to make my partner Todd proud, and doing all of that stuff, and kind of keeping 2 regular guys going, and making sure, heck, we're probably 6 episodes behind there of getting them posted on our website. We do them every Friday. I just haven't been able to find the time to post them to our website yet. And Small Business Saturdays, all of these things, you're just trying to stay healthy. Not been going well, but so trying to get to the gym and the trainer and playing volleyball, and and then I have this wonderful wife and beautiful son who's upstairs sleeping right now, and wanting to spend time with them. And I'm also a consultant for a wholesale sublimation company, and so the list can go on and on and on. And I'm not trying to say that I've got more than anybody else. I'm just trying to say that as small business owners, this is what happens. This is how we get there. And so we wanted to talk about, A, to help me remember, hey, we can do this. And B, we want to talk to you guys about, because I know you guys are all feeling this same thing that we are. I've heard it. We've had kind of those conversations where, we've asked people, what's your biggest challenge in your business? And a lot of times it is, I'm a one woman shop and trying to do all of this. And, and by the way, I've got a day job. So, but let's talk a little bit, Kylene, about why it's important to, just avoid that feeling of overwhelmed, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to kind of understand it. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, our brain and nervous system shifts into a reactive stress state. And in that state, our prefrontal cortex right here, which does our executive functioning, helps with our logic, our problem solving, our analysis, our prioritization, all those things that you need to have your business running successfully, kind of takes a back seat. And then our amygdala kicks in, that fight or flight or freeze response kicks in. And you can't do a whole lot when you're in that state of mind for long periods of time. Yeah.
And honestly, it's not healthy to be in that state of mind for long periods of time. But, for me, I tend to fight, I guess would be my go-to. And I'm sure she doesn't agree, but I get cranky. I pick on every little thing. Never done that. I pick on every little thing. And then also sometimes, that flight part kicks in. Sometimes, after that, I want to be alone, and she'll be like, what's wrong? I'm like, just leave me alone, and so, that's what happens for me. Todd says we are our toughest critics. And honestly, that is true. So,
Yeah.
what about for you? What happens with when you get into
I
that?
almost shut down. So I go in that freeze mode and then I start over analyzing everything. And then I'm exhausted and I haven't accomplished anything. And then I just want to be alone. The
Nice.
flight response kicks in and I just want to leave the situation and hope with time it gets better.
Nice. So
I don't know if it's nice.
well, probably not nice. I was just noticing that we really struggle with getting the timing of the sun coming up and that, because I look pretty silly right now. So
Well, pretty soon I'll come in and
Okay.
get a nice light.
all right. So apologize for the view there, and obviously our dog wants to go out right now too.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
You'll hear a bell in the back.
Yeah, but what about for you guys? You know, what happens when you get into that overwhelmed state? What normally kicks in for you? You know, I do know certain people that stress and that push to, you know, that oh my God, I got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Does for a few people turn it on. You know, you start getting things done. So
Yeah.
you know, and that's
pressure.
okay. But again, it's not healthy for us. It's not
long term.
not long term if
Yeah.
you're always in that state. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about some
Ways to
suggestions.
avoid those feelings of being overwhelmed.
Yeah, definitely. So let me start. All right. So we've kind of covered why, we've kind of covered all that. All right. Sorry, there's some good comments going on. Cindy says, "Hey, silly, I have curlers in my hair." And Todd says, Corey has a nail pop off. Thank goodness Kelly brought glue. We're now having a nail party.
Oh
So
my God.
there we go. Have a party. That's the way to do it.
That's awesome.
And so actually we'll talk about that in a second. But here we go. Cindy says, customers can really stress you. You try to make them all feel important, but others were in line first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just kind of getting people to be human sometimes can be a little bit of a challenge.
Mhm.
Sometimes I lose sight of what reality is. And we'll talk about that. So as Kylene said, let's talk about some ways to avoid feeling overwhelmed. And the first way that I think Todd, when he mentioned, you know, we are our toughest critics, is that you actually need to change that narrative. You need to change, and you need to trust yourself. You don't need to judge yourself. You know, Kylene was saying, you know, she felt this way and thought that it would be this, and then it ended up being this. And you can make it even worse when all the time happen, you know, when you go, oh, I'm so terrible, I don't know anything, blah, 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 blah. You know, that's being a critic.
Mm-hmm.
And what we really need to do, what's important for us to do as people is think about being a coach. So if you've ever played sports, you've ever had a coach, you know, would you respond to a coach that was just constantly telling you that you're doing a bad job and that, you know, just critiquing and picking and finding all of the faults? Or do you respond more to a coach who's helping you see what you're doing wrong, but giving you the strategies and giving you the encouragement to improve and do better and point out the successes and, you know, do all of those things that helps us get better, not all those things that just makes us feel worse and want to shut down more. So, you know, becoming your inner coach instead of your inner critic is crucial. And it's something that I know I work on all the time, you know.
Same here.
Same. Okay.
Yep.
So Layla has said, text time has stressed me, must do better next year. Yeah. And totally understandable. Here's the great part, Layla, is now you've identified what you've got. You must do better next year. That's awesome. You know, now turn that into a coachable moment and go, okay, yep, let's do better next year. But here's the things that you did well. And here's some strategies that we can use to do better next year. You know, I think we talked in one of the groups, you know, about ways to just kind of keep that. You mentioned, you know, want to keep that up monthly. There's a strategy. Keep that up. Look at a different program like QuickBooks or something like that. So Cindy says, I like the term cheerleader.
I like that. Yeah.
That is a good one.
That's
That
great.
is a good one.
Mhm.
So there's one thing.
Yep.
What's the next kind of suggestion to avoid feeling overwhelmed?
Just know what you can influence. So I'm sure you've heard both of us talk about E plus R equals O. So the event plus your response equals your outcome. And that response is your control. Only you can do that. So truly understand what you can have impact over. You can't control other people's behaviors.
Yeah.
You can choose how you respond to it, but you can't control it. So don't let that stuff beat you down.
Yeah.
Truly remember what you have an impact on.
Exactly. Yeah. So with that, like she said, you can't control certain things. So Cindy mentioned customers. Unfortunately, we can't control them. We can respond differently. We can do things differently at the front end of it to help them respond differently. But really, at the end of the day, what we have influence over is how we respond to that thing. So if you use that opportunity as, hey, I'm empowered to not let this really crappy person affect my life, that's important. So, that's one of the reasons that we always talk about this E plus R equals O thing that we've learned from Jack Canfield. So, so the next suggestion here, guys, is let's look at the big picture of things. Does whatever's causing you to feel overwhelmed, does it really matter that much? Is it really worth this kind of heartache and pain? Is it something that, I like to call it the 30,000 foot view, basically just kind of rising above it all. And, so think about it as like we're looking at our map on our phones. In today's world, what we see on a map on our phone is, a little 5-mile radius around where we're at. We're right in there. We're focused right in. What I'm suggesting is let's, pinch it in, scroll back and look at where we are in relationship to everything in our world and what this situation is in relationship to everything in our world and kind of get a different perspective of it. If you can stop yourself and go, maybe this doesn't really matter that much. A lot of times that's all it takes. And now all of a sudden you're like, okay, not a big deal. I'll get to that. I'll take care of that. No problem. But you just have to reframe it. Yeah. So
we have a comment that popped up.
Okay, cool. Thank you. You're chasing the squirrels this time.
I know.
Heidi says, getting the products on the website so I can make the videos of making the product. Then I can run an ad and have a place to send customers. It's a long process that takes away from production times. It's a necessary evil. That's a good point. Sometimes there's things that we just have to do. It may not be exactly what we want to always be doing, but there's just things that we have to be doing. And that's really where maybe this next suggestion comes into play, actually. Yep. Thank you, Heidi. You must have our script here, Heidi, giving us the segue. So the next part here is we need to ask for help. Maybe some of these things, maybe it's worthwhile. Now, you can't always ask for help. I get it. Sometimes we need to do these things and we're just not in a place to be able to do that. But I think too often, and I'm saying this because this is something that I do, that I need to ask for more help. This long list of things that I shared that I've been working on, a lot of it, I've been able to ask for help. Kylene's helping me a ton with a bunch of the stuff, putting together Small Business Saturdays, obviously, doing things like that. But, I've also hired a virtual assistant. It's not that expensive. It's not that I have a bunch of money. We're in a place where we're trying to make ends meet right now as we're transitioning in our lives. And so when you look at it, you go, gosh, I don't really want to be spending money right now, but you got to look at what your time's worth to you as well. Can you be making more money or doing more things, helping more people by focusing on your core competencies, the things that you do well, the things that you love, so Heidi, for example, could getting products on the website, could that be something that you get somebody on Fiverr to do for you or get a virtual assistant? Some of the website projects that I've been kind of trying to take on myself and trying to figure out, I have linked up with a guy over in India that charges me $10 an hour and has set up all sorts of stuff for me that would have taken me hours and hours and hours to try to figure out. And, it's taken him half hour, so it cost me $5. So, what are some ways, that we can ask for help though? Any thoughts on that?
That's it's hard sometimes. For me, it was, I didn't even know where I needed the help getting started out. For you, it was just so much. You didn't know where to ask for the help.
Yeah.
But you can also learn to say no to certain things if it's appropriate.
Yeah. So Heidi says, got to grow the business first to get the money to do it. And real quick, I would just want to comment on that, Heidi. And I totally understand and I totally agree. But if you don't figure out a way to maybe kind of make that investment, it becomes kind of the cart before the horse kind of thing. And so sometimes making that investment will actually lead us to faster growth and more money. It seems somewhat counterintuitive, but the more I work on it, the more I try, the more I'm finding out that when I can let go of some of those things by making an investment in myself and my business to do those things, we have discovered that it actually allows more time to do more. So it does seem counterintuitive, but sometimes spending a little bit more actually reaps more and quicker, so it is a calculated risk though that you have to take. And so it can be a challenge. So let's see here. One more comment. Cindy says, in the embroidery world, we try not to do all the logos in-house, save lots of time sending it out. Todd says, do what you do well and let others do what they do well. Make a list of your strengths and weaknesses and find someone whose strengths is your weaknesses and ask for help. And honestly, that's something that you and I have been able to do too, is we have spent some time trying to figure out, what it is that each of us do well and vice versa. And then make sure that, within everything that we're doing in our lives, that we're focused, I'm focused on the things that I do well. You're focused on the things you do well. And we kind of take it from there. So, oh, Joey really wants to go out, doesn't she? And this sunshine's getting even worse. So note to self, keep those things closed next time.
I know. I just like the sunlight. So I open them.
So now we can't see. All right. Perfect. All right. So the next thing, what else can we do to avoid feeling overwhelmed?
Learn to say no.
Learn to say no.
Yeah.
That sounds like the moderation word.
It is
something,
kind of
words
like
that I don't know. What we know of all of you guys are very similar to us, where not people pleasers in a negative way, but our desire is, our personalities are to help people. I mean, a lot of times, many times people get into business because they want to help people. And again, knowing what I know of you guys, that's the case, so learning to say no is a real struggle. It's something that I don't do very well, but maybe you can help with that. Maybe you can give me some suggestions here, Kylene.
Well, I don't know. I kind of look at it as kind of like finding your niche, focus on that one thing, kind of what Todd said, that your strengths and that you're really good at. So then when an opportunity comes your way, if it does fit your why, you can make that time to evaluate if it's the right time for you to dedicate to it. If you're really already stretched thin, then maybe you just have that conversation with the person and try to create a win-win for a later time. But if it really doesn't match your why and what you're trying to accomplish, and you just feel like you should do it, maybe that's the time where you say, no, I can't do this at this time, in a professional way, so you don't burn any bridges. I know you've helped me with this with We Heart. Any interest in our business, I was so excited. I'm like, yes, I want to make this work. And then would spend all this time. And then all of a sudden we realized that, I realized it just wasn't worth our time. It didn't fit our business. It wasn't what we were set up to do. So I've had to say no to a few customers, and it wasn't easy, but I think in one customer has come back and bought other products from us because I think she appreciated that we were upfront and honest with them.
Yeah.
With what we were capable of doing.
Yeah. And honestly, that's one of those things that, again, seems a little counterintuitive, but as I'm learning and as I'm trying to get better at this, being able to say no is actually more helpful to the people you're trying to serve than always saying yes. Because if you always say yes and you can't do it, you're actually doing them more harm than good by trying to do something that you just can't do. And so one strategy that I've been working on and learning myself is to start out by just, talking about the positives going on for you that don't allow you to do this, that this is my strength. This is what I'm doing. These are the projects I'm involved in. This is what WeHeart.biz focuses on. This is what we do really well. So the fact that you need this thing that we don't do and that we don't have a good opportunity to outsource or something like that, or maybe it's, I'm working on all of these educational content pieces for decorators community, therefore, I can't travel to a open house or do something that, certainly I'd love to support people with, but, I've got commitments to other folks and commitments to myself that we've got to do. So that's some ways we're getting better at saying no. So Joe Catazone from Jovic Industry there says cash flow issues, open terms versus COD. Trying to get people to pay COD is almost impossible. And again, that's one of those things, Joe, where just learning to say no is the way to do it. No, we don't take COD. As small businesses in today's world, we're not the bank. So there are banks that everybody's got a wallet full of credit cards typically, and if they want terms, put it on a credit card. You've got 30-day terms with a credit card, so that's something that we want to do there. So excuse me. Sorry, guys. All right. Now, so I can't see, I'm coughing. So
would you like me to close this?
You want to jump up real quick and do that, if you don't mind? Slide on out. Thank you. All right. Yeah, because I can't see a thing. So, and I look really silly. So hang with us 1 second, guys. All right. So that was where those were some strategies to avoid the feeling. There we go. Hey, I can see again. All right. Come on back there, ma'am. So those were some strategies there to avoid feeling overwhelmed. And we'll recap these all at the end here. But inevitably, no matter how hard we try, there are going to be times. I think it's just human nature that we get to that point, and it's in a lot of ways it's our body's response to, hey, you're doing too much. You got to slow down.
Yep.
And so let's. Cindy says, "Are those your jail bar stripes?" Yeah. Just the blinds. Just the blinds. So if we're being honest here, we're overwhelmed is going to happen. So we're talking about ways to avoid it, but let's talk about a few strategies here. So a few ways to just deal with it when it does nearly get you to that point of being overwhelmed. Like our dog here is going to overwhelm us with her need to.
I feel like I should let her out.
we just a real quick story. So our way to potty train our dog to get her to go outside was we put a bell on the back door. And so she learned that to put the bell on the back door, and when she was able to ring the bell, we'd let her outside.
I'm gonna let her outside.
You're gonna let her outside while I tell this story. So you can just leave it open. So unfortunately for us, our dog is a little bit smarter than us, and now she has trained us that whenever she wants a treat, she's going to ring that bell. Now we do still make her go outside and make sure she uses the restroom, but apparently she's gotten good at because she's been outside a couple times already this morning. So all right, so good stuff here. But now I want to talk about ways to deal with being overwhelmed. And the first thing here is the first strategy to use is take a deep breath. Just kind of stop and take a breath. And there's actually a technique that I've heard about and that I've used from time to time, and I have to keep reminding myself of it, and probably should just go ahead and make a poster or something like that and put it up. Just cover the walls in our bedroom.
No.
Oh, darn it. Okay. So the strategy is inhale to the count of 4, hold for a count of 7, and then exhale to the count of 8. And then repeat that 3 times. So, excuse me, this cycle of 4, 7, 8 breaths is effectively a circuit breaker for our mind. And what this does is it helps us relax. It helps take away that fight flight, that amygdala situation that you talked about earlier on. And so really this technique is huge. And kind of as a bonus, you can take that same breath cycle there and use that right before you go to bed, or right as you're going to bed, because I have a hard time sleeping, and because my mind is going and all the things going on and stuff like that. And I found when I do that, and I do that cycle of 3 times, I fall asleep almost immediately. So, and Tanya says dogs are smart. So, yes, they are. They're extremely smart. And our little one is a smarty. And so anyhow, that's back to it. Our first strategy is to kind of take that breath. Should we do it real quick?
Okay.
In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8.
Okay.
Ready? All right. I already feel calmer.
Look at that.
How about you?
It's amazing.
All right. So what else do we want to do here, Kylene?
Another thing you could do is take a break or separate from the environment that you're in. It doesn't have to be for a long period of time, but just long enough to kind of get you in a different state of mind. Sometimes when you're stuck in that office, or you're stuck in wherever you're working, all these to-dos are just shouting at you. So sometimes just separating from it for a while is a good way to kind of get in that right mindset again. Yeah.
Well, one thing there, it just, again, separating from it, it can be as easy as just getting up and walking into the next room, going and getting yourself a glass of water, a healthy snack, something like that. So it doesn't have to be like, you go and move your workstation or something like that. Now that can maybe help too, just changing that environment, but it can be as easy as just kind of separating from it for a second. Again, our brains are really interesting in that. You guys ever had that feeling where, you were walking into a room and you're like, what in the heck did I come into this place for? Well, that's not because you're, because you always forget things and you're forgetful and stuff like that. That is actually a mechanism in our brain that when we walk through a doorway or some sort of a threshold, it kind of is a reset. And so that's why we go, well, what did I come in here for? And that's why when we go back into the other place where we're at, we go, oh yeah, now I remember. So it is crossing that threshold. So
that circuit breaker again, kind of shutting all that other stuff down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. The other important thing to do is to do something that brings you joy. It helps you feel energized and again, gets you in that right mindset to go to work and work through the things that are on your priority list. Smile, laugh, go to lunch with a friend, go for a walk. Like Aaron was saying, it doesn't have to be long, just long enough to just do something else that truly gets your body in a healthy state of mind.
Yeah.
Exercise, whatever it may be. Everyone's different.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a reset really, when it comes down to it. In fact, you mentioned laugh. And when we were at the One Day to Greatness with Jack Canfield, he did an exercise with us and it really actually truly worked. He said, just start laughing. It doesn't just start laughing. It can be a fake laugh to start and just start laughing. and then see how that makes you feel.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's just laugh and go, you go, wow, I feel differently. So Cheryl's got a strategy that I want to share real quick here. One of the ways I handle being overwhelmed is to talk it over with my business partner, husband. He's always so good at helping me look at it differently than what I was looking at it at the situation. His skill set is different than mine. Yay. And
that's awesome.
So that's a very good one. We have a similar situation there. Sandy, always wine. Wine is always a good idea. I love it. Love it. Always wine. Yep. All right. So what else can we do there, Kylene? What are some other ways that we can deal with feeling overwhelmed?
Well, I'm sure you've heard us talk about this, but just continue that attitude of gratitude. Remind yourself of all the things that you have in your life that you're grateful for. There's tons of stuff, and it gets you in that positive state of mind. So then you attract more positivity instead of more negativity, building and building and building. Again, it's the E plus R equals O, and you have all control over that response to bring that positivity in the situation, and then you can change your outcome.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah. I mean, it is an amazing feeling to have that ability to say, I've got control over my life, no matter what's being thrown at you. And I get that not every situation is great or fair or good, or, saying, I can't or I don't, but we changed our sign back here to always say I can, because we used to say never say I can't, but change that positivity. I like this, Cheryl. Thank you.
Oh.
Wine, not wine. WHINE. Yeah. So WINE instead of WHINE. So
that's funny.
We want cheese with our actual wine, not the wininess that we can sometimes do when again we're
feeling overwhelmed.
We're feeling overwhelmed. So anyhow, so there we go. Now Joey's really enjoying this morning. All right, so those are some strategies. Terry says E plus R equals O. Yeah, we've talked a lot about that on different programs, but real quick overview of it. E is the event, the thing that's happening to you, the thing that's going on, the overwhelming situation, what would be another example of an event?
The things happening in your life at that moment.
Yeah. So maybe somebody cut you off in traffic. That's an event, right?
Yep.
R equals response, how we respond to that. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Our response can be, you jerk, hey, middle finger, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Get yourself
angry, get upset.
Irritated.
Yeah. But the other response could be, hey, I'm here, by the way, everybody's safe, no problem.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going on in their life? Maybe they're not paying attention or whatever. So I can be like, I am that I am. I've cut somebody off accidentally before myself and understanding. So then our response, but the cool part about it is if the event is this, our response, those two things added together is actually what the O is, which stands for outcome. And so therefore the outcome is completely our control because we're able to add the response to it. We have complete control over that center part of the equation, the response. So that's what we're talking about with that, Terry. So
it's taking 100% responsibility for
yourself and your response. And to us and for you guys, that is so empowering. If we're able to take 100% responsibility for our world, our lives, then we've got control. We have that ability. We have that control. So thanks, Terry. Yeah, this was my, birthday gift, I believe. Anniversary gift. Okay. So we actually made it together and it was a really cool project and our son was involved in picking out all of our core values as our family. So
that's pretty awesome.
Here, in fact, I'll take that down so you can see slide out of the way there, Kylene.
Let me let the dog in while you do that.
Okay. So in this house, love unconditionally, be thankful always try our best, always say I can, laugh and be silly, always be truthful. So those were values that were near and dear to us. So, all right. All right. So as small businesses, we have lots of opportunities to feel overwhelmed. You know, we've talked about a lot of them. You guys have shared a lot of things, and we appreciate your honesty and candidness with us about the things that you're dealing with. And, you know, you've got day jobs, tight budgets, taxes, learning completely foreign things like Kylene mentioned, failures, which are actually learning opportunities, by the way. You know, just wearing lots of hats. So, you know, we start off talking about some ways to avoid it. We started about talking about some ways to eliminate it, but it really, at the end of the day here, we think it's crucial to have a process or system or strategy or whatever you want to call it to make sure that we're organizing our lives to do our best to avoid this, you know? So for me, I'm still perfecting my system. You know, I tend to jump around from one system to a lot. I'm one of those guys that I think I get some sort of weird satisfaction out of like checking the box, you know? So I found myself spending more times putting things on my to-do list than I have actually getting them done. So there's been times where I've like done something and I type it onto my to-do list just so I can check it off. But that's my celebration method. We'll talk about that in a second. But you know, and one of my other challenges that I have complete control over is that I'm not a very good note taker. I've never had a great system for taking notes. You know, in school, I was not a note taker. I just didn't do it. And even to this day, I'm more of a write down a keyword or phrase and then remember it later kind of thing. So, you know, for me, we've had to really work on a system. In fact, we're involved in implementing a new system right now because as Kylene and I are working together, we both had different systems. And so trying to stay on the same page was challenging. We had to find a system that worked for both of us. So
because my system's completely different from yours, and my system drives him crazy. But it's worked for me, and it's been good. You know, I used a notepad as my to-do list, and the night before I'd write down everything I need to do, which was fine when it was just me. But now that it involves Aaron and projects that we're working on together, we have to make sure we're both on the same page. You know, I'm adapting to this new system so we can not get overwhelmed or forget about things. But yeah, my notepads are not working for him.
Well, it just is again,
it's just a different system.
And getting all the information, and you know, when getting into bigger projects and things like that, you know, there's a lot to it, and we're going to talk about
that can be left out.
So but for any system, and you guys will need to come up with your own, and we'll share some things that we're doing here. But for any system, the very first thing that we've got to do, and you got to come, I don't know, a lot of people don't like the term, but the term is mind dump or brain dump. And so basically we need some sort of a way, we need some sort of a system to capture everything that's bouncing around up here. You know, we need to get all of those ideas and tasks, and there we go. Sharon, you'll have to teach me this. I'm ready. I'll sign up for the class. And she says, I have a great system I learned in taking notes in nursing school and used 3x5 cards too. So There you go. I need some help with that. But so the first thing though, is you need to have a way to get these things out. And the reason for that is a lot of times why we feel overwhelmed is we're trying to kind of catalog all this stuff in our brains. And our brain, you know, it's kind of like a computer where it's got too much in the memory. You've got to, you know, delete some things so it'll work better, so it'll work faster. And our brains work that same way, where we don't want to forget something. So if we don't write it down or we don't put it into something where we can reference back to it later, our brain kind of stops working as efficiently as it could. So the first thing is you got to have a way to do that mind dump. In fact, I found a better term last night, and I haven't committed it to memory yet. So I'm going to go to this here real quick. So we used to call it a brain dump, but I changed this last night to call it our spectrum of thoughts.
Oh, wow.
Spectrum of thoughts. There we go. But, you know, like I said, you've been doing all sorts of different things. So for me, I've been all over the place, you know, so I've got notebook here that, lots of random notes and different things in it. And, so I've been chasing these things around. It goes from like a nice schedule to, let's find one of the random, just kind of, so all over. Here we go. To like this crazy, just like random notes. So, I've been carried around one notebook, and then I was carrying around two notebooks. And with this notebook, because it's this ring binder and I'm left-handed, I've been working from the back forward. And the problem with that, and I discovered, was when I had 3 pages of notes, there's 1 on that page, 2's over here, and then 3's back this way.
Oh my
God. So it doesn't operate like a normal. So that was a problem. So there's that notebook. And then just random pieces of paper. This was my schedule that I came up with, and then kind of keeping notes over here. That ends up happening. Then I'd print stuff off and be working through that. And then I end up with, notes on pieces of paper. So I had all sorts of mind dump ways. And so cleaning that up has been important, getting into a good system with a notebook and what it, post it for blocking the light. Yeah, we got to get one right in that little hole up there. So that's okay. It's sun shining down on me to bring me some of that good vitamin D. So, so Mike says, post it for blocking the light. Sharon says, Todd, what are you doing? It's your wedding day. Absolutely. In fact, Todd just said, had to jump off to do wedding stuff. I'll catch the replay later. Everyone have a great day and go get it. Yeah. Todd, you have a great day, sir. Congratulations. We really wish we could be there. We really wanted to be there, but our thoughts are with you guys and wishing you a fantastic and wonderful day. Yeah. So
congratulations.
Yeah. Nan says, looks like my system. Sandy says, I have random notes all over the place. Yeah. But here's the deal. That's okay. So don't, I'm not saying that this mess is a bad thing.
No.
You have to have a way to get that stuff out of here onto somewhere where you can then move on to focusing on what you need to focus on. But what you have to do, what's important is don't let this stuff get behind. So I'm going back to this notebook here. What I do is pretty regularly, I try to do it at least once a week or so. In fact, I got through all this last night, is I take and I go through all these notes, and you can see down on the bottom here, these little X's for me. I went through it, I organized it, I cataloged it. We got it into, so we started using a program called Asana. I'm going to put that up right here on the screen. And it's a pretty cool tool because it allows us to, so we got our spectrum of thoughts. So this is where we would kind of dump everything. So we had a lot of notes and stuff like that. So let me find one here that, so if that was a thought, like, we want Lewis to complete the strength finder. So that's a task, that's a thought. So just put it there, and then we can go into this, and then we can assign it to one of us. We can put a due date on it, and we can then look at different projects. We're not going to go real deep into this, but some sort of a system to then catalog and organize this. It could be, as simple as, actually, let me get back to this here before I get too far along. It could be as simple as having a master to-do list notebook, or in Kylene's case, she would rewrite that to-do list on a bigger Post-it note every day.
I have my notebooks too.
Yeah. So whatever your system is, but come up with some sort of a mind dump, brain dump kind of system. So Mike says that he's had a lot of fun and luck with the Everlast Rocket Book. Yeah. Okay. Which I've got one of those. You've seen me use it. It's that where you can wipe it off. So basically use a pen it's kind of a plastic sheet. The problem for me with that Rocket Book, Mike, is being left-handed. That ink just I drag across the ink and it's smudged all over the place for me. And apparently I write really hard too. So I had all these grooves in it. So, but you know, great
cool.
system. It is cool. So, yep, I've got notes in 8 different notebooks, scrap papers, anything I can find. Mike says, in addition to being a great notebook that allows you to check on one of 5 different possible avenues to collect your written notes via an app. Yeah, for sure. You know, I've got a lot of those pictures of those things. So again, just have that system and then wipe it clean like a whiteboard. So Mike's been using Asana since its inception. Great tool for standard to-dos to complete project management. Mike, cool, man. Let's get together. I'm going to need your tips and help here. We tried Trello for a little bit and it wasn't bad, but we ran across Asana and it seems to fit us a little bit better.
Yep.
So really good stuff there. So, all right. So that's the first thing. We got to have a way to capture our mind up, right?
Free up some space.
Free up some space. Thank you. All right. So the next part of this here is we're going to, Mike said, hadn't thought of the right-handedness. Again, just me being me. But again, this is the cool part about all of this stuff is we all can, you know, just because I do it this way or just because Mike does it this way, just because Kylene does it this way, doesn't mean my way is best, her way is best, Mike's way is best. It's what's best for you. So with all of this stuff that you consume on the internet and stuff like that, take what works for you and set aside what doesn't. So really cool. All right. Next phase here is once we've done that, we want to, like I said, catalog it. We want to kind of organize it. And one of the best systems that I've run across for that comes from a guy named David Allen. Many of you probably heard of him. Its system is called Get Things Done, GTD. And you know, after you've captured stuff, the next phase is the triple Ds, right?
Yeah.
Do, dump, or delegate. Basically, we need to have a set of processes to schedule and review everything of our mind dump, and then taking those 3 do. So do, is this something I need to do? If it's a do, then it goes to this, you know, this list or this area. Yep. Is it something I need to dump? Is it something that it's not really important to do? You know, we need to get rid of it. Now, here's what I've found helps me in this dump, because we have to be honest with ourselves about, like, do I really need to do that? And I'm not good at that. You know, I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity there. I got to do that. And other people probably look at it and go, why are you wasting your time with that? You know, but I go, I got to do that. But the dump part, what's really helped for me though, is when I think about dumping it or not doing it, I don't get rid of it. I still keep the note, and it just goes into either a waiting or, you know, just general notes, because then I don't feel like it's gone. Maybe somewhere down the road that could change and it could be something that would be necessary to do. So it's still there. And so for me, it makes me feel better about dumping something. What about you? Do you don't have any problems dumping things? No,
but it is good to keep that list somewhere, because someday it might be appropriate.
Yeah. So then the delegate part, and we've talked about this already. It's ask for help. But you know, there's certain things where, again, if we're talking about, you know, focus on your strengths, can you delegate that to somebody else? You know, but have that list, and then that way you know, okay, here's and maybe you've got different people that you work with. So internally, Kylene will be like, okay, here's things that Aaron needs to work on. Here's things that maybe a virtual assistant can work on. Here's things that, you know, somebody can reach out to somebody else, a friend or something like that. So, and then as we talked about with asking for help, you really should always delegate more than you're thinking, you know, more than you should. You know, today's world, getting a virtual assistant is super cheap. Like I said, for some of this website stuff that I would have spent hours and hours trying to figure out, I was able to find a gentleman. He's in India. And again, then I didn't tell him that he needed to charge me $10. He when he came to me, when I posted the things that I needed help with, he came to me and he said, you know, my fees are $10 an hour. And there were people that were cheaper than him, actually. But I felt comfortable with his knowledge and what I'd seen and the reviews and stuff like that. I used a system, a program called Upworks or a website called Upworks, and you can use Fiverr, and there's all sorts of different virtual. VA stands for virtual assistants. So, and then also understand that the people around you are willing to help. You know, I've got this wonderful person sitting next to me here, and she helps me so much, but there's probably more things that she could help me with if I would just ask her.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you don't know how to ask for the help.
Yeah.
Because you have to train me in knowing what you need help with. And in the long run, that's beneficial. But at that immediate time, sometimes you have to make that calculation.
Yeah.
And it's worth it.
That brings up a really good point. Yeah. Because like you said, sometimes it does take a little bit longer the first time. But if we go back to what we're talking about with looking at that 30,000 foot view, in the long run, you know, again, we've got the entirety of our lives here, and we have to take advantage of the opportunities that we have in front of us. And so if you look at it from the big perspective, that time you spent training that person and putting in the hours will get you so many hours back in your future. So that becomes again, like you said, a calculation. Because a lot of times it's like, God, I could have just done this myself and been done with it. But then I look back on it and I go, but then I keep doing it myself over and over and over again. And how many hours have I wasted when I could have just trained somebody or, help them understand what it is that I really want to have happen here. So good stuff. All right. And then the next thing that we want to do is we want to prioritize. And once we've kind of decided the triple D's there, do, dump, delegate, the next part is we need some sort of a system. Now, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this part of it because I actually already have covered that. About 2 months ago, I did a program about your task lists. And in fact, I will see if I can put that up here. I thought I had it in here, maybe. Nope. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I will post it, and hopefully it won't start playing here. But there's a video I did on mastering your to-do list. And again, you just got to come up with some sort of a system. The 4 quadrants from the 7 Habits book is a great system. Just kind of that, again, making those calculations on what's worthwhile, how much time it's going to take you. Do I really need to do this? What should I get done first, and in what order, and things like that. So that's the next phase. What's next after that?
So now you have your list, and you know what's on the top of your list, what's the most important. Then you take those and you break them down into smaller, achievable tasks. So you don't even have to have all the pieces together to that end goal. You just have to get started, and you just have to start working. Pick the first few things to get yourself going in the right direction, and then the rest comes to you as you keep moving along and inch closer to that goal. So sometimes we feel overwhelmed because we just look at that end goal and it looks like this huge mountain that we have to climb, and we only have so much time. But if you can truly break it down into a smaller, achievable task, eventually you get to the top of that mountain, and it's not as painful and overwhelming as it would be. And then those specific tasks that you're doing helps you get to that 5th step. And
all right. So what is the 5th step?
Well, you explain all that.
I do. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so the fifth step, again, when we're breaking it down into these little bite-sized nuggets, one thing that we have to remember to do, because it's important, and it's really why we're doing all this, is as you're completing these tasks, don't forget to occasionally stop and celebrate. Yeah. Okay. So this is avoiding overwhelm. If you're celebrating, it doesn't feel so overwhelmed because it's kind of that hit of dopamine that you're going to get. You know, and our brains and our bodies crave that hit of dopamine, but we lose that if we're not celebrating, if we're not going, we got it done. We got that project done. Good job. And just every step that you take, everything that you do is still a step. It doesn't have to always be steps forward. No, because, wins are wins, but you said, failures are also learning opportunities, and it's still a positive. It's still a
a good thing.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
still a reason to celebrate.
Yeah. So, reward yourself from time to time. I think
Yeah.
I talked about in the Master Your To-Do list, that I brought up Barnwood Builders,
Oh, yeah.
the TV show that I love. And I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I enjoy the heck out of it. So one thing that I like to do is like, okay, I've got 3 Barnwood Builders on the DVR. So if I've got those there, I tell myself, if I can get this project done, if I can get this project completed off my list, that's my way to celebrate. I'm going to take that time for myself to go watch those shows. And
it just, again, keeps the momentum going too, instead of always grinding comes to mind, but that's not the right word. But like, instead of always working, and you're never really truly getting that sense of satisfaction and completeness.
Yeah. Well, as Todd mentioned earlier, we are our own worst critics.
Yeah.
And so if we're trying to be that inner coach, one of the things that really good coaches do is they help their people that they're coaching, their team, celebrate, and focus on the positives and stuff like that. So, I definitely feel this a lot too. I need to do that more where, we look at something and then, I just start picking apart all of the things that didn't go well. Well, what about all the things that went well? Let's celebrate those things. So, good stuff there.
Yep.
I had an opportunity to be at ThreadX recently, and one of the gentlemen was talking about being a virtuous leader, and he did talk a lot about celebrating. In fact, he got a confetti cannon. He buys confetti cannons off of Amazon. They're like $15. And when something big happens at the office or something good happens at their shop, they'll celebrate. They give that person a round of applause and they shoot off the confetti cannon. Because he said that, and I haven't found it yet, and I'm going to reach out to him and see where he found it, but he said there's a stat that says 95% of all people have not heard applause for them since they graduated high school. So, think about that. Give yourself a round of applause, or give somebody you're working with a round of applause. Give your customers a round of applause. So celebrate. Again, that celebration gives us that momentum, like you said, to reach on to that next project, and it doesn't feel overwhelming then, right?
Yep.
All right. Yep. So let's review here because this is much longer than normal.
Yeah.
We've done a great job here. Let's review real quick. So first thing we talked about was how to avoid that feeling of being overwhelmed. There we go. Sandy, I want to get to this real quick. Yeah. We have to remember the why we are doing this. If it's all work, our why is not being accomplished. Exactly. And that goes back to the whole, got to make sure you got a clear why to start with.
Yeah.
So. Yep. Does he delegate the cleaning of the confetti that's fired? I believe it's a group task. He seems like a pretty involved guy, so maybe he does it himself. So anyhow, all right. So back to our review. So first thing we talked about was some ways to avoid feeling overwhelmed, and trust yourself. Be a coach, not a critic. Know what you can influence. Look at the big picture. Does it really matter? Be able to ask for help. Ask for help as often as you can, and then learn to say no.
Yep.
So the next thing that we talked about there was dealing with feeling overwhelmed. So the steps there. So once it does happen, if it does happen, how do we do it? First thing, simple as just take a breath. We talked about the 4-7-8 cycle of breath that really can help change our brain function and get us back to the more healthy state of mind. Second thing, take a break. Just get up and walk away, right? Find joy, find something, exercise or something that brings you joy. Watch the TV show that you wanted to watch. And then finally in that phase, have an attitude of gratitude. Just remember all the things that you're thankful for. Something that we have been getting better and better at, and our son is really great at it too. We've got a gratitude box and he can write a note and throw it in there. So, and then we can go back to that. And then lastly, we talked about some strategies to eliminate that getting to being overwhelmed. So the first deal there was mind dump, some sort of a way to capture all the things that are in your brain. The next part was do, dump, delegate, the three Ds. After that, prioritize, do the right things at the right time.
Yep.
Break it down into small bite-sized chunks, ways that you can, really consume it and not feel so big. So the big project of ruling the world, if that's our goal. But how do we, where do we start?
Yeah.
Well, let's start by doing A, then we do B, we do C. So break it down. And then we just talked about celebrate.
Yep.
Woo.
Yeah.
Let's see, celebrate.
Woohoo.
Oh, break it down.
Oh, we talked about that.
Oh, yeah. Last night she said that when I said break it down, she was going to do a little dance, but
not today.
Not
sorry,
today.
everyone.
All right. So that's kind of that's the overview of it, but kind of wrap it up for us, would you?
Okay. So overall, we want to avoid that feeling of being overwhelmed. Yes, it's going to happen, but we want to try to avoid it. And so again, it's really important for us to understand that for the success of our business. So understanding the why and the strategies and the mindset that you can be in really will help you, and it can be managed, and it is a good habit for being successful in our life. And you can take control over your day instead of everything else taking control over you.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. So I'm going to post about 5 links here into the comments. And these are just some articles and stuff, some blogs that we found that were really helpful as we were working through this. These are some things that I've saved over the course of time, but then also found as we were kind of researching for this. So let me put those in there, and you guys can consume that at your leisure. And you know what? Let's wrap this up with some celebration. Todd, if you're watching the replay, we get to do it live. Awesome. All right, you guys, any last questions, comments? Appreciate all your time today. I know we went much longer than usual, so hopefully you got some value out of it. And if not, if you have any questions, you need any help with anything, and we talked about asking for help, ask us. We're here to help. She is the most helpful person I know, and I follow her lead, and we want to help. So right up there, Aaron at Montco Consulting. And Joe, you have an awesome weekend as well, sir.
Have a great
And I wish I was going to make it out to Atlantic City, but it doesn't look promising. So we'll figure out a way. I definitely got to get out there and see it. It's been a long time. Mr. Joey DeWing. All right, you guys. Again, appreciate everything. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
We'll talk to you guys next week.